Alright, welcome to... Alright, sorry. I don't know if that intro counted. Welcome to episode 25, I think, of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we had a couple of things happen. Also, I really hope this audio works. This is really what I want to happen. But I do have my phone set up over there. So, if it doesn't work, I can just watch that recording back on my phone, then instantly do the audio. So, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, in the last episode then, we had quite a few wars in Europe. We saw the Danes go on a colonial expansion over to Norway. There are lots of that. We also have a new Lapland country, so they're pretty cool, and cool as in cold as well. That's a very funny guy. The Spanish attacked the pink, Portuguese country, along with help from Morocco and Madrid, I suppose. And we also saw another war in sort of like Ukraine. There was a country, oh, there's Crimea. Yeah, Crimea used to exist over here, but they're gone now, as the Bulgars, the Moldovans, and the Ukrainians split them up. So yeah, that was most of what happened in that episode. We also saw an alliance created between the Greeks, the Bulgarians, and the Libyans. Anyway, I'd like to go on today's video, so let's do that, as we're heading over to Western Asia. Woohoo! Central Asia. I actually keep writing this Central Asia because they're kind of teal, I guess, and that's funny. Anyway, yeah, they're going to go to a war today, and unfortunately, they're going to go to war with a country I quite like, and they're kind of around here. They haven't done a whole lot, but it's actually a reasonably powerful country, and I think you know who I'm talking about. Third party, no. Is this color good? It's alright. Yes, they're not going to go to war with the Persians, but they're going to go to war with this country, and that's mainly because they want to strengthen their own country, but also, they feel like they might need some more power, to fight this guy, and also, this country's got a religion they don't really like. They don't really like the Caucasian religion. My religion is right here. So yeah, these two are both Caucasian religion countries. This bit should probably be as well. So, yeah. You have a massive religion, by the way. That's huge. And this religion has definitely kind of spread. Why is your alliance here? I don't know. But here's the religion map, I guess. This is probably gone. It's definitely near gone, at least. I don't really update this as much as I should. So I might just get rid of it. I'll keep it. I'll see what I think about it. Anyway, that's kind of important for today's episode. So yeah, let's head over to our actual war scenario. You're gonna go to war with somebody. Hooray. Not really, because it's war. Anyway, yeah, they're going to invade this greenish country. Let's go on with that. Sorry. This is a pretty big country, but it's not exactly like it is a strong country, to be fair. So they're going to invade around here. Are there trade routes through this country? That's not helpful. No, there's not. There probably should be. I need to update that. But yeah, you're no monarchy, but you are an absolute monarchy. So is a lot of these countries, including Bulgaria, which is funny. Anyway, yeah, wartime. So you invade over here in these eastern regions, but also just moving across the border to take cities like right here, and also surrounding this sort of area. They easily take this city, and a push is made up the river, as that's deemed quite important. Their city is also like right in the center, or the capital, I mean. So they kind of push around the east. So basically, this eastern front is just going to kind of collapse. The Central Asian country is now the second strongest nation on Earth. So yeah, only the Persians can beat them, which is pretty important. However, this country, they have a good go at it. Over in the west, they defend their river regions, which, that's well done to them. However, we do see the blue team push up here in the north, taking this city. So now the country is kind of possibly going to get split, and they don't want that to happen. So what they do is they push back just in this eastern area. In fact, trying to split up these front lines. Not quite what they need to do, but like, good job, I guess. This country is very close to being in the top 10. They just, like, if they maybe won a few wars, they definitely could. However, now the Central Asian military is barreling towards their capital city, and they're not really defending too well. Not defending horribly. You know, they do actually make an incursion into the Central Asian country, right around this city over here. Yeah, the Central Asian countries just moved their military away from there. However, river populations are kind of pro this green country, so that's alright. And they do also invade right here. But But yeah, this isn't going to be too tricky for Central Asia to work against. And in fact, they kind of like this one because, yeah, they surrounded it. So encirclements like this, are they too realistic for this time? I guess kind of, because news really doesn't spread that quickly. But this country will lose quite a lot of its military here, and we see the surrounding of these areas come back as the city is now taken down over here in the east, and they start to slowly move in towards the capital, taking this city kind of like the central area, and they try to move down towards the capital. However, over here in the east, they're invaded by the only other Caucasian religion country, this one. They work together with the Uralic country and quickly push back against the Central Asian areas. And now you're in a bad spot because this is the third strongest country in the world. Although actually, probably to be honest, Hejaz might have passed them up now. But yeah, they're still strong. They're still very strong. I mean, there's definitely a gap between you two, but they're still a strong country. So they help the Uralic country, I'm going to call them that, I don't know, to push back against the Teal country, and they do a pretty good job actually. The two countries, well, I mean, they did not expect the Caucasians to join this war. They didn't think they cared that much about this random country that actually fled from their nation, but they're actually going pretty close over time. So the Uralic nation has a pretty good job pushing back against the Central Asians as they lose a lot of their territory. Nice. Oh my. Also, we're very close to 70 subscribers, so yeah, you should help us reach that. I'm on 69 currently, so that's nice. I guess you could also invade this nation. They're not in the war, but if you invade this country gets in a war. But if you invade the blue country, the orange country doesn't have to join because they're very, very poor. Anyway, the Caucasians kind of encounter more troubles around here, but they do manage to take one major city, and they get very close to another. However, yeah, you're actually going to finally do some work pushing back against the greenish country, and yeah, you actually also manage to push back against the Caucasian armies, but do not recover any major cities, so that's kind of a shame. You do recover this one though. The invasion in the southern areas of the Uralic country still continues. It's where most of the Central Asian military is, because they're kind of hoping that if they get this country out of the war, then these guys will leave as well, or maybe they can just beat them a lot easier. So yeah, they do a pretty good job of actually just pushing back against this country, but then something pretty bad happens, because the Caucasians have a massive, not that, they don't take that bit, they do not navally invade. Maybe they do, but they get pushed out anyway. They had a pretty big offensive, and the Central Asians did not think it was possible for them to lose this badly. But yeah, a lot of their troops are separated up here in the north. How they were able to flee through this area, which would be, well, they would be able to do if the Uralic country didn't just make a massive breakthrough and separate off this area. So yeah, they just had a massively bad event happen. Not great, not what you want to see. However, they do manage to push around and take the capital city, the green country. And yeah, Caucasia is kind of going, uh-oh, you are meant to lose your capital city. Because from there, they do lose a lot of land around the rivers, which Caucasia has to look after, along with this city. Because everyone's kind of going, what were we doing again? I don't really remember. Central Asia is able to take advantage of their weakness and push around these northern and eastern areas of the Uralic country. They take this major city and also take this one. But yeah, I mean, Caucasia is still going to give it a pretty good go. They manage to navally invade here again, and they get pretty close to taking this area. They try to navally invade the capital, which goes badly, so that's a stupid idea. But yeah, they push around the coast and take another major city. And people are like, how is Central Asia doing this badly? Well, they're fighting in like a lot of freezing cold weather up here. And they are doing a pretty good job. Most of these stuff from the central or the Uralic country has kind of moved over to this city. So they're trying to go to there, but not really doing too well with that. However, in the end, their offensives kind of had to stop because the Caucasians are becoming quite a fearsome threat down in the south. And they managed to hold a proper defensive line over there. So yeah, that's alright. Do what you need now. Allies. Luckily, there's someone who's very willing to join, and that is the Turkish country. And they're going to bring in another country. So they will invade the western regions of Caucasia. They do a pretty good job here, as Caucasia really wasn't expecting this, and they invade into these sort of like Greater Armenia, Georgia areas, and get towards their capital in Georgia. But remember last time, they funded the Ukrainians, and that is literally the same color. And now Ukraine is going to help the Turkish out by also invading along the orange country, but that's kind of unrelated. You're just doing it because you like land. That is the same color. Is this the same? No, it's just hard to see. There you go. Alright, so they will also invade. They don't really take anything important. A lot of military build-up over here. However, they do take these two cities, so I lied. Sorry, guys. They invade from what is, I suppose, like Kersh, maybe? Taking over this area as they jump over into Caucasia. And Caucasia is kind of realizing they're screwed. Now, you may be thinking, maybe Iran can join this war. Or Persia, I mean. And gain a little land in Azerbaijan. However, Caucasia is kind of Persian aligned, so doing that would just distance yourself from a possible ally. And I mean, they could join against Central Asia, but they really don't need that. They're planning a different invasion right now, and it's going to be a big one. They're invading a pretty strong nation, and they need as many people as they can get for that. So they're just not going to invade there. We'll find out about that in a few episodes. But the Central Asians now have a very good time pushing back against the military of the Caucasian country. As for this guy, you're not having a good time, are you? And in fact, they just kind of surrender. This city's taken, and that was what I said was their de facto capital. And these western regions kind of just do their own thing before eventually. Anyway, I suppose surrendering. I just don't really want to get rid of the color, but I suppose I will. There we go. This invasion, it's still going very well. Actually, let's head down to Turkey. The Turkish country is probably having like the best go at this. They might be the strongest country invading, to be honest, other than, of course, this guy. But yeah, they take the city. It's a lot of mountains, but they are very close to the capital, so they are facing quite a lot of troops, which means that Central Asia pushes back. The Ukrainians have a massive military victory around here in the Sea of Azov, taking one city and then another one right where Azov is. And yeah, they try to work down towards the Turkish. As for the orange, sort of like Donbass country, they push around over here, taking this city. And yeah, that's nice. This is the final bit. I don't know what they're doing. I guess like a little military holdout over here. They're gone. And in the end, the Turkish take the capital city of the Caucasian country, ending this war. Lovely. Let's press the back button about 1,000 times. And you can watch all the colours change, I suppose. That was a pretty fun war, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. Caucasia, Central Asia won the war, definitely. And they also won it with a few allies. Well, not allies, but countries who also wanted stuff from Caucasia. They really wouldn't have got that support if Caucasia had not been in the war, but luckily they did join. So Central Asia had a much easier war. But I mean, if they hadn't joined, then they wouldn't have had to fight them. I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but it's something. Anyway, as for these guys, the Turkish, they're going to be gaining all of this territory, which is rather a lot, you might be thinking. And you'd be right. They get right up to the border of the Caucasian country, taking... Oh my gosh. Right, I see the problem. Taking over quite a lot of land, really. Yeah, should make their border look significantly nicer, I suppose. Heading over to the Ukrainian country, they can't really get a whole lot of this because they're kind of restricted by the Orange country. How they will allow the Orange country to get to Donbass, and Ukrainian claims are recognized, which is nice in the Orange country. The Orange country then will take over the Azov area and also quite a lot of northern territory. This is a lot for the Orange team, who isn't really an awfully strong nation, but yeah, they managed to get themselves quite a lot of land from this pretty small war. There you go. Look at that. That's pretty amazing from the Orange country. Caucasia looks kind of weird. Let's head over to Central Asia. Sorry, what was that? They're going to be gaining some land from Caucasia and also the Uralic country. So they, first off, will take this province, and in fact, they may take a lot of provinces. I went very correctly there. Trust this audio probably No point re-recording this. I doubt it's going to work. It worked for the 6-minute Clash Royale video, and yeah. So they don't get hold of land from that country, but that's because they're not the main objective. You are the main objective, my friend. You're not going to agree with this. So they're going to take a lot of land, taking this city area, and they also push around here in the south, and take this province, and this spiky looking province. Let's take this one too. And in fact, let's just keep going. Let's keep taking more and more provinces from this country because who actually cares about this nation other